3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Triad of the Fours podcast, a podcast from three Puerto Rican friends coming together to do deep dives into Star Wars and other nerd-related media. Today, we are going to continue talking about Star Wars Visions episode by episode analysis, and this is the last one, so we are not going to be bothering you anymore with how much we love Visions. I know it makes me sad. So the last episode in the series so far, Akakiri.
Yeah, so. Not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea. I'm surprised that they put this episode as the last one. I mean, it kind of makes sense depending on like how you look at it, but at least for me, it's not the episode I would have put as the last one. But I mean, it is a beautiful episode. I did really like the visuals. I wasn't particularly a fan of like how they animated the characters themselves, but at least in terms of like the backgrounds and everything, I thought it was very stunning every episode. There's definitely beautiful things in there. It's the most Kurosawa episode besides the duel, because it's basically the Hidden Fortress, which was what George Lucas was mostly inspired by for doing A New Hope. So there's a little too many on the nose things, at least for me, in that episode that harken to the Kurosawa film. But I don't know. At least for me, Star Wars is about hope and, optimism for the future. And the way the episode ended was kind of the opposite of that. Even Revenge of the Sith, which is the darkest of the films in terms of like how it ends with hope, right? With the Owen and Beru with young Luke in their arms, like looking towards the hope of the future. And this one is just like, no, life sucks, and you're coming to the dark side with me. So for me, it was like a little jarring. Not that I don't like a good dark episode. I just find it weird that happened in a Star Wars, but that was the kind of like my initial reaction. I know Mo probably feels differently.
I do feel differently. But it's okay. That's what we're here for. That's the beauty of, because I learned from what you didn't like and see if it matches or changes my opinion, and that's the beauty of it. I kind of at initial like a first glance, I will agree with you on the art style, but the more, especially like the human character animation. But then as the episode went by, it was actually the most human-like at the same time. Like it didn't feel like you were watching a cartoon or an anime, if that makes any sense. I think all the other ones, they still maintain a semblance that you were watching like something that was animated. I think this one like then and I think it probably was like the choice of like the palette color, the colors, like the colors clean, like it was all like brown and like orange,
very muted,
very, very muted, and it detracts. I think it thinned the veil of like, oh, I'm on your board just watching a cartoon, or is this just like a real life scenario that's panning out here? So I like that eventually, but I think the fact that they went back and reclaimed everything that's like so on your face, and then like do a better Anakin story with it and a shorter amount of time, it's almost like a slap in the face, like, hey, we're here, we can help you out too. Like,
please hire us.
There's my resume, I'm just putting it out there. It's like a sample, because rarely do we see the payout of somebody. Like, why do people eventually go dark side? And there has to be a payout. There has to be some sort of, and we see that. We see the resurrection. Like we've never, I mean, apart from the Rise of Skywalker, where we saw the dyad. I don't know if that was like a full resurrection or sort of like a passing of energy swords, but
let's go with yes, just for argument's sake.
So for yes, we saw the light side resurrection of it, but we've been missing the dark side resurrection version, and we got it. It happened. Like the sacrifice was worth something,
Mhm.
And it's not in vain. It changes. There is hope, because now that character is not going to harbor hatred towards their action. So in their mind, there will always be justified that they joined the dark side because of this one action. Like Anakin always would have regrets of joining dark side because it really didn't pan out. You know, it was like a moot thing by the end.
Right.
He became Darth Vader.
Ooh, yeah. What would have happened exactly if he had brought Padme back, but then she leaves him because then he has to live
because
with
you're
that
not
guilt. Like,
you
I brought her
anymore.
back, but I still killed everything. Ooh, I dig it. Okay.
Well, yeah, I actually really like the animation style for some reason. I like that it was kind of wonky in the faces and everything.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed it. But yeah, one of the reasons that the episode just didn't resonate with me that much was because it was the Anakin story retold, and I like it better when they like go away from characters that we already know. But the more that I think about it, it is a better Anakin story. I mean, the love story is way more believable. There's no, sand gets everywhere lines.
Come on, that's a cheap shot at this point.
But come on, the Anakin and Padme love story was like so hard to believe, and
Right.
this one, in such a short amount of time, you can see that love between these two characters in 20 minutes. So there's something there that just works so much better, and there's not a lot of lines between them either. It's how they interact with each other that's really important. So you do have a much better Anakin story, and like you were saying, there's a payout towards the end. It's the whole self-fulfilling prophecy as well, because this person is having dreams about it. But in Anakin's case, it was way more specific because it was about Padme dying. In this one, it's about somebody dying in front of him, but he has no idea who this person is or how it comes about. And then obviously it's really heart-wrenching in this one because he is the one that murders her. He doesn't know it's happening, but because he gave into his rage, he kills her, which is way more effective. And it's how the Anakin story should have gone. I hate the whole, like, she dies because of grief or whatever. Like, pull the trigger, have Anakin kill her. Like that, this is how it should have happened. And the fact that there is actual resurrection, like Mo was saying, there has to be a payout for you going into the dark side. And to me, it never really made any sense that Anakin continued to work for Palpatine if he got nothing for it. It's like, well, she died anyway and I killed her. Why would I continue to follow you? Everything that you promised me
was a lie.
Shit. Yeah, I didn't get anything. Why would I continue to follow you? So that makes no sense. It makes complete sense in this scenario that he would be completely loyal to this person, because even though he had to turn to the dark side, he knows that this person fulfilled the promise, like immediately, no strings attached. It's like, you come with me, I'll resurrect her. And that's exactly what was promised. And that's exactly what happened. And then that's it. And there is something incredibly sad about her waking up and he's a Sith now and he has to leave. So, she lost the person that she loves basically because of this. She doesn't really know that, she died and he brought her back, but that was the sacrifice. And there's, he gets something in return for it. So it makes way more sense that what happened with Anakin. So in that sense, it's a really good retelling of the story.
Right. I mean, it's obvious, right? Everyone has said it, that it's a reinterpretation in some ways of like the Anakin and Padme story, but I also got a lot of Obi-Wan Satine vibes from it, especially when they were doing like the flashbacks to when they were younger. And I was like, okay, this jives more in terms of like what happened with Satine and Obi-Wan, which in a way makes the story a little more stronger because you believe the love story a little bit more than what we were presented with in Attack of the Clones, which in my opinion was a bit ham-fisted in how they presented the love story, because it's just like, okay, well, you guys are supposed to fall in love, so I guess you're falling in love, as opposed to generating that believability, right, between that relationship, because that's, I don't know, based on the character development that we had. I mean, I don't want to talk about Attack of the Clones when we're talking about Akakiri, but you have to make a distinction to understand where one works and one doesn't. But based on the character development that we had for Padme, she would not have acted the way that she acted in Attack of the Clones and fallen for Anakin. it's just a complete departure from her character.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, like half of that just made absolutely no sense. I mean, I've made peace with it. Star Wars, it happens.
Yeah.
Star Wars doesn't have
Yeah.
to make sense sometimes, I guess. So it's fine. But I appreciate that from Akakiri, even though it's not my favorite of the Visions episodes. At least in that sense, they, in a short amount of time,
Yeah.
again, which I think is we keep harping on this
Key.
point
Yep.
throughout
But it's
every
key.
episode. In a short amount of time, create such a believable relationship and dynamic between the two of them. It's something that, you know, I think it's really something to appreciate. And I think the art style, especially like how he turns to the dark side when everything just switches to red, and how that all that sequence happen is very visually stunning. So I mean, I have to give credit where credit's due. And I think that ending, bleak as though it was and unfulfilling in terms of my desires for a happy Star Wars, a hopeful Star Wars, I think it was done beautifully, regardless of the fact.
Again, yeah, and such is life. Not everything, unfortunately, is
Such
happy
is
ending.
life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes there are sad endings, and there was something that I really appreciated about it. It's like, oh, not everything is rose-colored tinted, and you know, he murdered her, turned to the dark side, brought her back to life, and now has to be a Sith. So,
but it is so quintessential Star Wars. It is what happened.
it is, yeah.
Like it had to be retold. Like we got all the hope, the family, the philosophy, the cultural background, and all the other episodes. So yeah, we were missing the
the
I
despair.
became a Sith and I'm Darth Vader. Like
So you're saying that all these 9 episodes of Visions are basically the prequels, and ends. This is like the ending of the prequels of the Revenge of the Sith, and now we're gonna get Vision season 2, and it's gonna be the original trilogy, basically.
I don't really see it that way.
Yeah, I don't see it.
I see it as they're grabbing different elements that are core to what Star Wars is, and then reinterpreting those, you know, through, you know, anime, and through what are different, you know, genres of anime and all this kind of stuff. So so that's why we get a lot of what I think makes Star Wars really good, which is, you know, obviously the found family, the, you know, the lore of the Kyber crystals, the philosophy of light side, dark side. Is there really a difference? The changes, seeing the dark side and the light side from different perspectives, like who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, all these kinds of things. And then obviously this last episode, like the despair of when things just don't work out. Which happens a lot in Star Wars. A lot of characters in Star Wars don't get happy endings, even though one of the main themes is hope. A lot of the characters do not get happy endings. So
because there's no therapy in Star Wars. That's
There's
mostly
no
the
therapy in
reason.
Star Wars.
Or you get blown up, you know.
Or you get blown up.
Or you get blown up. So all in all, I do think it is an appropriate last episode for the series. So and regardless, they're so good that I don't think the order that they were released matters at all. So I mean, even if you change the order around, like each episode by its own is completely special. But ending it this way, it's also like a punch to the heart, like, oh, really? Okay, but I kind of like that. So
see what you did there.
It gives you it leaves you wanting more. I'll give them that. By doing that, it's just like, come on, let's keep going.
Just a little bit of crumbles.
Yeah. Hey, Disney knows what it's doing. They know what their marketing's up to.
Definitely. But all in all, I thought the whole series was amazing. Really, I had really high expectations for it, and it did not disappoint. Even the episodes that didn't resonate as much with me personally, they were still good, and I'm sure that they do resonate with other people. So that's the beauty of Star Wars. You don't have to absolutely love every single thing that comes out.
That is absolutely true. Not to, you know, keep bringing up Twitter and whatnot, but there was like this whole discussion, like in a post I had made, and someone was, I think this person gave me vibes that they were like a prequel trilogy fan growing up, and they had faced like that backlash against the prequel from the OT fans, and now they were bashing like the sequel trilogy and all the post George Lucas stuff, so all the Disney created content, and just talking nonsense about how that stuff isn't real Star Wars, and this thing and that thing. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? Those things don't even make sense. So people that are not enjoying like all of these different realms of Star Wars that Star Wars is exploring right now, totally valid. I see some of the points, but you can't say that it's not Star Wars because it's touching on like all the themes that all the different films have been touching on, like just expanding the lore in exciting directions, and it's resonating with a lot of people in a way that the prequels did with the kids that were growing up with it back in the day, and the original trilogy did when that came out. So to kind of discredit something that's just because it's new and doesn't resonate with you, but is with a lot of other people, I think it's a very unfair thing to do. You should just, be the grown-up thing and the mature thing and be like, hey, I'm bowing out. That's not for me, but you guys just enjoy it and find the joy in it. And I'll try to find joy in something else. There's no real reason to start doing all this
like
negative
this isn't
things.
Real Star Wars. Yeah. Star Wars doesn't need to be one thing. It can be a lot of things. There are a lot of really good themes in Star Wars that can be explored in different ways, and that's okay.
Yeah. And Visions is the proof of that. Visions is just a beautiful experiment of how you can do something that's completely different culturally and stylistically and come up with something that's still Star Wars and beautiful. So like, I'm excited for more Disney Star Wars. Give me more. I'm here for it. I'm ready. Yes.
Yes. Like, let it rest and let it be its own perfectly beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
But every few years or whatever, and I would be okay with using different cultural lenses too to bring it in. So I would be very excited to see it. It's really cool to see how from other cultures there's still so much love for Star Wars, because basically this is a love song to Star Wars from Japanese creators. So
like what would Star Wars look like from Native American perspective, or like Aztec or Incan perspective, or African cultures, or or different Asian cultures, right? Not just Japanese. I think it would be really cool to see like all those cultural twists, because we know it works, because Visions is a proof of concept. So I want to see more, because obviously it's also a thing of inclusion and representation. As we have said in this podcast many a time, more of it is, it's completely necessary because there's not enough. And, it's, we're all here for representation all the time.
Definitely.
Yes.
Fun. So, yes. Conclusion. Yes.
Yes, a good way to end. Yes.
Yes.
Well, I think with that, we've pretty much covered all the Visions. Agreed?
We finished the saga.
We closed the saga.
What a ride it has been. Visions was fantastic. We all really, really enjoy it. We recommend anybody that's maybe on the fence about it, give it a try. It's short episodes. You're not going to miss a lot of your time. So just give it a whirl. I'm pretty sure at least one of the episodes is going to resonate with you. A lot of them resonated with me, almost all of them. So
watch it in Japanese. Don't watch it dubbed.
Or watch it however you want.
That's
they
true.
got a lot of.
But if you whatever, watch it whatever you want.
Yeah, because they honestly got a lot of really good. I
haven't seen Spanish. I should give it a try.
But they got a lot of really good voice actors for like the English version, at least I know.
That's true.
But I do prefer watching it in Japanese. But if you don't want to read subtitles, just watch it in English. And either way, just watch, because it's really good. But I think with that we are done.
Well, not with the Triad, but with Visions.
obviously we will continue with the podcast, but Visions is over. So I think this is the last series we're going to get until Mandalorian. Am I correct?
Book of Boba Fett.
Book of Boba comes first. Okay, well, looking forward to that one too. So stay tuned. We will talk about Book of Boba when it comes out. We will continue with our regularly released episode every week. Hopefully as much as possible, because remember, I'm in law school, so sometimes it's hard, but we try our best. We are Triad of the Force. You can look for us anywhere that podcast can be found. We're on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Just search Triad of the Force. Give us a follow, a like, a subscribe, ring that bell. You can leave us comments, like if you don't like our content, what should we be talking about? Let us know. We're open to suggestions. So until
If you know how to
time,
compose music and want to write
Yeah.
an intro for the podcast, feel free to send your resume. We're on the lookout.
yes, we are. So until next time, may the force be with you.